50 boys, one road, and a deadly competition that tests not just their bodies, but their very will to survive. Stay with us till the very end, because the final twist will shock you. Welcome to Hollywood Movies Insight. Let's get started. In an alternate United States, a military takeover has plunged the nation into a cold, totalitarian dystopia. At the center of this ruthless regime stands a man known only as the Major, the sole figure of authority whose shadow looms over every citizen. To maintain control and instill obedience, the government devises a terrifying competition known as the Long Walk. 50 boys are chosen to walk endlessly, with the winner promised fame, fortune, and a single wish for anything their heart desires. The event is broadcast on national television, turning this gruesome challenge into a spectacle watched by millions, and for many desperate families, it becomes their only hope of escaping crushing poverty. Volunteers come forward, and a lottery selects 50 competitors. Among them is Ray, the only participant from Maine, escorted to the event by his mother, Ginny. The tension inside the car is palpable. Ginny silently prays that Ray will reconsider, that he might refuse to participate. But Ray gently but firmly reminds her that this choice is his alone. Upon arriving at the competition grounds, Ginny clings to Ray in a tearful embrace, whispering her final goodbyes as she releases him into the hands of fate. Ray passes through the imposing front gate, immediately meeting Peter, a friendly boy who radiates calm reassurance. Most of the other competitors appear equally friendly, chatting and laughing as they wait for the long walk to begin. But Curly cannot conceal his anxiety. Pacing nervously, he looks far younger than the claimed age of 18, a fact not lost on the others. Soon, the Major arrives, his presence commanding absolute attention. Each boy receives a metal tag with a number, a cruel symbol of adulthood thrust upon them. In a world that leaves no room for innocence, the Major delivers a chilling speech, framing the long walk as a noble tool to restore discipline and work ethic in a country financially crippled by war. According to him, annual production spikes following the event prove its effectiveness, and he believes the nation's true problem is nothing but laziness. As he speaks, the boys are fitted with bracelets to monitor their speed, and the rules are explained with stark clarity. Maintain a pace of 3 miles per hour, or receive warnings. Fall behind for 10 seconds, earn a second warning. 3 warnings, and a soldier will execute you. Step off the pavement, and death comes immediately. With a gunshot piercing the air, the Major signals the start, and the boys step onto the road, trailed by military trucks documenting their every move. The surroundings are desolate. Spectators are only permitted on the final stretch. At first, only locals near the road watch as the boys pass. A lone cop salutes, but an annoyed Gary flips him the finger and spits on the ground. Early miles are tense and silent, yet by mile 5, some of the boys relax, conversing quietly. Stebbins slows slightly, drawing a warning, but immediately corrects his pace, prompting others to wonder if it is a calculated move to test endurance. Gary pauses to adjust a rock in his shoe, drawing warnings from soldiers. When the third warning is issued, a soldier raises his gun, but Gary slips the shoe back on in time to keep moving, declaring he only needed a brief rest. By mile 7, the prize becomes the topic of conversation. Arthur admits he is motivated purely by money, while Ray insists there are higher stakes at play. Some boys are skeptical, prompting Ray to deliver a sharp, passionate rant about the system itself. The government paints the competition as voluntary, but in truth, extreme poverty and desperation leave these boys with no choice. Peter, impressed by Ray's conviction, agrees that the winnings should be used to help others, even as he casually lights a cigarette. Hank warns against it, but Arthur encourages Peter to share. Their conversation is interrupted by Richard, who meticulously records every name and number, dreaming of writing a book about the long walk for fame. Peter dismisses this, pointing out that victory alone brings wealth and recognition. Suddenly, Curly cries out, a cramp seizing his legs as he falters. The soldiers issue a warning, and Ray steps in, helping him while Peter offers words of encouragement. Motivated, Curly attempts to continue on his own, but the pain overwhelms him, and he collapses. The third warning is delivered, and a soldier shoots him in the head. Shock ripples through the group, and Ray falters, earning a warning of his own. Peter pushes him forward, urging him to maintain his pace as the long walk continues, relentless and unforgiving. The road stretches on, endless and merciless, and moments later the Major appears once more. He stops briefly to deliver a speech in honor of Curly, declaring that a fallen comrade must be remembered for his bravery, twisting a moment of loss into propaganda for the boys to digest. Ray quietly asks a soldier for a refill for his canteen, brushing against the man's gun as if knocking on wood, a small gesture of hope in a world designed to crush it. Meanwhile, Peter, unable to hold it any longer, relieves himself right in the middle of the road, his casual defiance drawing a warning glance from Hank. Though Arthur encourages him to share the moment. By mile 17, the boys notice a young girl standing by the roadside, holding a sign and cheering for Ray. The other boys tease him mercilessly for having a fan, too young to understand the stakes of this deadly road. The atmosphere grows darker as the long walk continues. Suddenly, a boy suffers a seizure and collapses, writhing on the pavement. Soldiers begin issuing warnings, but Gary leaps over the boy, mocking him for hiding his medical problems. Before anyone can react, the sick boy is shot, and Gary coldly remarks that fewer competitors mean better chances for everyone else. By mile 25, Gary turns his cruelty toward Rank, taunting and provoking him. When Rank strikes back after Gary insults his mother, he misses, falls hard, and cannot rise in time. The soldiers shoot him, and the other boys erupt in anger, shouting at Gary and blaming him for the death, vowing that they cannot wait for him to be eliminated. Even the most basic human needs offer no respite. Later, one boy must stop to defecate, and though he struggles to keep moving, the soldiers show no mercy, executing him for slowing down. By mile 35, the Major appears again, offering hollow congratulations for surviving the first night, spinning buzzwords about honor and bravery as if the massacre were noble. Ray, exhausted, begins to doze, dreaming of his mother, and receives a warning when his pace falters. If you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to like, comment, and share, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's try to hit 10,000 likes together. Peter wakes him, and the boys share stories of their families to keep their minds occupied. But Ray slips again, earning a second warning. A few steps later, he stumbles and receives a third, forcing him to walk flawlessly for the next 3 hours to clear his warnings. Peter tries to encourage him, but Ray, worn down and tense, snaps, accusing Peter of pretending to care. The road soon rises into a steep, punishing hill, making every step a battle. Fatigue claims several boys, and one by one they collapse, shot immediately. Ray struggles to ignore the death surrounding him while enduring Gary's relentless mocking. At the edge of exhaustion, he begins to slow, but Peter intervenes, keeping him moving. Grateful yet ashamed, Ray apologizes for his earlier outburst. By morning, they reach mile 59, with only 18 players left after the hill's brutal toll. By mile 67, Hank is barely moving, and when Peter checks on him, Hank snaps angrily, refusing help. Richard, suffering from a twisted ankle, falters and collapses. A soldier shoots him in the head while 2 children watch in silent horror. The long walk continues with no mercy. At 100 miles, the Major appears again, applauding them for reaching the milestone. One boy attempts to escape by running into a building, only to be shot down instantly. At mile 103, the survivors discuss what they will wish for. Peter suggests 2 winners instead of 1, while Ray dreams of changing the system entirely. The others remind him that wishes cannot directly alter the state, and frustration bubbles over into curses against the Major and the cruel competition. Evening brings heavy rain, drenching the exhausted boys. Ray struggles to stay awake, relying on Peter's support to continue. By mile 144, Arthur must stop to relieve himself, and though he tries to keep pace, the soldiers force him onward before he finishes. The boys chat to distract themselves from the relentless fatigue, and Ray confides in Peter about his father, the man he considers his hero. His father had taught forbidden subjects like philosophy and was executed after refusing to swear loyalty to the regime, even when the Major himself demanded obedience. Ray reveals his secret. He joined the long walk not for fame or fortune, but to wish for a gun, to confront and kill the Major. He vents his anger at the cheering spectators, whom he blames for enjoying the boys' suffering. But Peter reminds him they too are victims of the system, conditioned to believe the cruelty is noble. By mile 170, exhaustion silences conversation. A boy with bleeding feet can go no further and pleads for help while attempting to climb onto a tank. A soldier strikes him down, crushing his legs under the treads, yet he still receives warnings before finally being shot. Another boy loses his mind, stripping off his clothes and running from the road, only to be shot as well. Hank notices a lost tooth, a small but haunting reminder of the cost of survival. By evening, the group reaches mile 201, and Hank is barely standing. Ray pushes him, urging him forward, but Hank has nothing left to give. The road has grown merciless, and the long walk has claimed almost everyone. One boy, desperate and defiant, turns toward the soldiers riding in a truck, only to be shot down instantly. Arthur, devastated, rushes to hold his dying friend, receiving a warning for his hesitation. Ray pulls him away just in time to save his life. By the next morning, The survivors reach mile 209, reduced to only 6 boys. They pause briefly, remembering that Hank had a wife, and agree that the winner will share part of the prize money with her. Gary, feeling left out of the conversation, approaches Ray and confesses that Rank's death has haunted him ever since. Though he never truly intended to harm the boy, he apologizes, insisting it was not his fault, and promises to honor Hank's widow as well. The group reluctantly includes him in their fragile comradeship, but as they continue walking, Gary becomes unhinged, ranting at the others in guilt and frustration before ending his life with a spoon, still receiving warnings and finally being shot by the soldiers. By mile 260, the boys try to lift their spirits with singing, a small distraction from the unbearable exhaustion. On the 5th day, they reach mile 278, entering the road leading to Ray's hometown. Collie believes Ray is lucky to see his mother, but Ray knows it is a curse. He will have to leave her again. By mile 286, they cross the town, and one of Ray's boots falls apart. Arthur points out that uneven balance will make walking even harder. Ray removes both shoes, revealing bloody, raw feet. When he catches sight of Ginny, he runs to hug her, only for her to step back, urging him to stay on the road. Peter pulls him just in time, preventing the soldiers from shooting. Ray yells a final apology to his crying mother, realizing in that moment he is no better than his father. As they continue, Peter shares his story, a life scarred by war and loss. Orphaned young, he endured abuse from an uncle until the man died, leaving Peter to survive on the streets through stealing and fighting. He recalls a fight where an opponent slashed his face with a knife, landing him in a hospital bed. That day, he promised himself to always seek light, even in darkness, and dreams that if he wins, he will use the prize to help orphans. By mile 306, Stebbins warns the group that helping each other will only prolong their suffering, a truth they reluctantly accept, even if it feels cruel. Arthur's nose begins bleeding, and the others pretend not to notice. Key snaps under the pressure, seizes a soldier's gun, and fires, killing him. The boys watch, horrified, as Key is immediately shot in return. Refusing to die unnoticed, he ends his own life, leaving the survivors to continue. By mile 324, Arthur's nosebleed worsens, and Peter and Ray drop their personal deals to support him. Arthur knows his time is short. He asks them to deliver his locket to his grandmother when they win and pleads that they not turn back before he moves away. He steps toward a truck and is swiftly killed by soldiers. Night falls by mile 326. The 3 final players cross a bridge as the major delivers his speech, analyzing them coldly. Seeing the killer instincts necessary in a winner, Stebbins reveals a shocking truth. He is one of the major's numerous illegitimate sons, longing to live in his father's house. His body failing, he wants nothing more than an end, and before the major can react, the soldiers shoot him without hesitation. Rain begins to fall as Ray watches the carnage, admitting that he once feared death, but after witnessing so many young lives extinguished, he no longer does. By mile 331, Ray and Peter enter a town where a massive crowd cheers them on. Peter, exhausted, wishes to give up so Ray can reunite with his mother, but Ray convinces him to press forward. Peter moves ahead, unaware that Ray has stopped behind him. The soldiers shoot Peter, yet he struggles to return. Because he is the winner, they drag him away. In a final, harrowing moment, Ray confesses his love for Peter and apologizes to his mother before the major prepares to execute the final shot. The crowd cheers, fireworks explode in the sky, and Peter breaks down. The major congratulates Peter and asks for his wish. With steady determination, Peter requests a soldier's gun, intending to pass it to his children as a symbol of triumph. The soldiers hesitate, but the major, convinced of Peter's virtue, orders them to honor the wish. Peter seizes the gun and points it at the major. The man attempts to reason, reminding him of fame and fortune, but Peter, tears streaming down his face, replies, "This is for Ray," and shoots the major on the spot. He drops the weapon and walks away, leaving behind the chaos, the deaths, and the system that tried to break them. Thank you for watching. If you liked this explanation, please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more movie breakdowns. Your support helps us bring you even more exciting content.